New York conman cleric Father Paul used $650,000 in phony charity donations to fund lavish lifestyle, plastic surgery, announced federal. New York conman cleric Father Paul used $650,000 in phony charity donations to fund lavish lifestyle, plastic surgery, announced federal authorities. In Austria, daughter of doctor allegedly drilled open skull during surgery. Reportedly, Houthi arms dealers using social media to buy and sell weapons. UK banks brace for a lending boom on Labour's house-building goals. Indonesia reinstates full tax break for property purchases until December. Cuba sees 14 hours-long daily blackouts as economic crisis continues to deepen. South Africa's Dubai top envoy recalled in visa scam. Australia caps foreign students in bid to curb migration. Trudeau announces reduction in temporary foreign workers, suggests more immigration changes to come. Korean authorities eye budget bump with funds for chips, K-pop. Inflation in Germany fell below 2% for the first time in August, according to Deutsche Bank, as Germany confirms economy shrank in second quarter. UK shop prices fall for first time in almost 3 years. Fed cuts may send $1 trillion FX avalanche to China, Jen says. Chinese stock exchanges to stop releasing data on overseas fund flows. SEC's case against Kraken will proceed to trial, California judge rules. China's military to conduct armed patrols, live fire exercises near Myanmar border, as Myanmar junta set to lose rest of state to ethnic armed group. 3 months ago, powerful ethnic armed group in western Myanmar claims to capture base and hundreds of soldiers. Former Malaysian leader Muhyiddin charged with sedition for allegedly mocking former king. Japan scrambles fighters after Chinese military plane incursion. Indonesian palm oil output set to fall on dry weather. Old trees and Indonesia's incoming leader hopes to implement 50% palm-based biodiesel in 2025. UK to ease free-range egg labeling rules to cut bird flu costs. 8 months ago, DEFRA proposes changes to egg labeling rules to support British industry. Dam bursts in eastern Sudan, at least 30 dead and many missing. LG Electronics weighs India IPO to help chase $75 billion goal. Temu owner PDD plunges 18% after revenue, outlook disappoint, as China's PDD suffers $55 billion market cap wipeout after flagging an uncertain market. Boeing announces China commercial fleet to more than double by 2043 for growth and modernization. Coinbase base layer 2 hits 1 million daily active addresses, as base names go parabolic. Hong Kong regulator finds unsatisfactory practices at some crypto entities seeking full license. Report. Rhodium Bitcoin mining firm declares bankruptcy in Texas court. New Zealand mulls adoption of OECD crypto reporting standards. Russia initiates crypto trials for cross-border payments amid sanctions crisis. Ecuador Central Bank announced as, "We do not have power to ban crypto." Glenn Powell-led Running Man reboot, directed by Edgar Wright, sets November production start at Paramount. Quentin Tarantino refuses to watch Toy Story 4 because Toy Story 3 is one of the best movies I've ever seen, and the perfect trilogy ender. I'm done. Mariah Carey says her heart is broken after mother and sister die on same day. Judge orders Martin Shkreli to turn over all copies of unreleased Wu-Tang Clan album. Foo Fighters donate My Hero royalties to Kamala Harris's campaign after Donald Trump uses song at rally. Trump and associates set to face Isaac Hayes' estate in court over use of songwriter's music. Jenna Ortega quit Twitter after seeing explicit AI photos of herself as a teen. Soldier in Alaska used AI to make fake porn of children he knew, federal authorities say. Malaysia planned to license social media platforms, sparks pushback, as tech giants urged Malaysia to pause plan for social media platform licenses. 1 month ago it had been announced as Malaysia to ask social media platforms with over 8M users to get licenses. CNN reports that Trump's businesses are raking in millions of dollars from Republican political campaigns, including his own. Missouri Attorney General's legal war against media matters shot down by federal judge. Federal judge rules Missouri's Second Amendment Preservation Act unconstitutional. Trump says we gotta restrict the First Amendment, and Donald Trump warns of World War III during speech in Detroit. Georgia governor inquires whether he can remove MAGA election board members after series of alarming votes. 1M plus ineligible voters removed from Texas rolls since 2021, Governor Abbott says. RFK Jr. suspends his presidential bid and backs Donald Trump before appearing with him at his rally. And RFK Jr. says he's been tapped for Trump's transition team. RFK Jr. beheading whale story resurfaces after he endorses Trump, and environmental group wants answers about RFK Jr. chainsawing a whale's head off. Tulsi Gabbard, who ran for 2020 Democratic nomination, endorses Trump against former foe Harris. EU plans 36% tariff on Chinese EVs, with lower duty for Tesla. Following U.S. lead, Canada to hit China with tariffs on electric vehicles, aluminum, steel, as Canada follows U.S., imposes 100% tariff on EVs imported from China. China's BYD beats Honda and Nissan in April to June term for the vehicles sold. JD Power study finds growing frustration with advanced tech. Xpeng aims to assemble EVs in Europe to blunt impact of import tariffs, CEO says. United States Department of Transportation releases seminal plan for nationwide V2X, vehicle-to-everything deployment. These technologies allow vehicles to communicate real-time information directly with other vehicles, infrastructure, and vulnerable road users to improve transportation outcomes across the board. Dutch watchdog fines Uber $324 million for unsafe transfer of driver data to U.S. In New Zealand, court rules Uber drivers are employees, not contractors. When Boeing's Starliner comes back empty, it'll destroy the malfunctioning thrusters, making it impossible to study what went wrong. IBM to close China R&D operations, affecting 1,600 workers, claimed in reports. China's industrial strategy on collision course with top German export industries. Black Myth Wukong is still delayed indefinitely on Xbox Series XS due to a memory leak issue, as per a rumor. Black Myth Wukong becomes smash hit with over 10 million copies sold. In the most massive and expensive airstrike, Russia spent $1.2 to $1.3 billion on the missile attack on Ukraine on August 26, as Forbes estimates. Poland says drone likely entered its airspace during Russian attack on Ukraine. Wagner Group claims to no longer be fighting in Ukraine. In Russia's largest attack, Ukraine's defense forces destroy over 200 out of 236 Russian missiles and drones. Ukrainian drone attack damages high-rise in Russia's Saratov region, injures residents. Putin seizes $100 million from Google to fund Russia's war machine. Ukraine seeks UK green light to strike Moscow and St. Petersburg targets with Storm Shadow missiles. Hungary reportedly starts evicting some Ukrainian refugees from shelters based on new law, an EU executive to contact Budapest over eviction of Ukrainian refugees. Security services say Norway energy industry faces Russia threats. China and Saudi Arabia cease isocyanate exports to Russia. Telegram founders arrest part of broad investigation, French prosecutors say, as Telegram CEO arrested over probe into child porn, drug trafficking on app. Russians do everything via Telegram. Pavel Durov's arrest upends Kremlin military comms, and reportedly panic mounts on pro-war Russian Telegram channels after Pavel Durov's arrest. France's Macron says arrest of the head of the Telegram messaging app wasn't political. UE requests consular services for detained Telegram founder. Reportedly, Israel is buying Google ads to discredit the UN's top Gaza aid agency. Yahya Sinwar reportedly hiding in plain sight dressed as a woman. Pakistani judge acquits a man over spreading misinformation that sparked riots in UK. In the US, police officers are starting to use AI chatbots to write crime reports. Japan's police to deploy AI-powered drones in disaster-hit areas to deter looters. New startup wants to sell you sunlight after dark, using mirrors. North Korea's Kim calls for country's development of more suicide drones. In the U.S., Hungarian national arrested on charges of conspiring to export U.S. military-grade radios to Russian government end users. Former postal worker accused of intercepting drugs and delivering them to traffickers in New Jersey. More than $900,000 in drugs and cell phones seized at Edmonton prison. Half of South Koreans have chronic anger issues as per a study. France's Macron won't name leftist prime minister, prolonging political crisis. Donald Trump threatens to pull out of September 10 presidential debate, as Harris wants Trump's mic to stay unmuted during entire upcoming debate. Harris versus Trump election debate in the balance over muted microphones. Russian army good in winter fighting, claims Trump. At least 100 people killed in central Burkina Faso in latest jihadi attack. Denmark shuts embassies in junta-led Mali and Burkina Faso, following military coups. Paris commemorates the 80th anniversary of liberation from German occupation. Palestinian Authority to attend BRICS summit, apply for membership, and Palestine asked Russia for support ahead of Abbas visit to Gaza, ambassador said. Tusk government promises to shorten working hours. Australians now have the right to ignore work calls and emails during free time. LA to pay more than $38 million for failing to make affordable housing accessible. In Singapore, second richest man in China jailed for 6 years over $5 million crypto fraud. ABRA reaches settlement with SEC over unregistered securities violations. SEC charges siblings over $60 million Ponzi touting a crypto trading bot. El Salvador sides with Telegram's CEO. Advocates free speech. Russian hacktivists target French websites in the wake of Telegram founder's arrest. Telegram says it is compliant with EU Digital Services Act after founder Pavel Durov's arrest. Shiba Inu announces launch of decentralized autonomous organization. Stablecoins hit record market cap of nearly $170 billion after year of growth. India's CBDC has 5M users, can be phased in gradually. Central bank governor. Ice cave collapse in Iceland kills tourist. Search for missing called off after whole group is accounted for. Australia sets record high winter temperature of 41.6 degrees. Video shows Grand Canyon Park visitors seek refuge in cave after flash flood erupts. Social platform X edits AI chatbot. After election officials warn that it spreads misinformation. World Bank halts paid advertising on X after CBS News finds its promoted ad under racist content. Court orders X to reveal investors, links to Putin's allies found. As a court filing unmasked the 100 investors in Elon Musk's X, with the Saudi prince, major VCs Diddy and Jack Dorsey. Tesla's Elon Musk shares first look inside Cortex supercluster at Giga Texas. Anthropic publishes the system prompts that make Claude tick. Files by Google gets ready to start summarizing your documents, as per APK teardown. Russians hit Kyiv hydroelectric power plant. Damage reported, and 7 killed in most massive Russian air attack. Ukraine says. Russia's deadly overnight barrage of missiles and drones hits over half of Ukraine, officials say. Russia says it disrupted Ukraine's power network and arms supplies with massive strike. Microsoft fixes ASCII smuggling flaw that enabled data theft from Microsoft 365 Copilot. Sonic Wall issues critical patch for firewall vulnerability allowing unauthorized access. Crayola trademarks the slightly earthy smell of its crayons. Darwin's fear was unjustified. Study suggests fossil record gaps not a major issue. Critical flaws in tracker GPS system expose users to remote attacks. ESET research discovers Engate, Android malware, which relays NFC traffic to steal victims' cash from ATMs. In Canada, Park and Fly reveals data breach affecting 1 million customer files. Most frugal woman in Japan spends $1.40 a day on food, saves enough to buy 3 houses by 34. Australia's Qantas blames coding error for 85% discount on first-class flights. Bald eagle feared injured turns out to be healthy, just too fat to fly after big meal. Apple to hold fall event on September 9th, new iPhones expected. Meta cancels its Apple Vision Pro competitor. Microsoft backtracks on deprecating the 39-years-old Windows control panel. Vigil makes controllable AI characters for memes and visualizing ideas. Amazon aims to launch delayed AI Alexa subscription in October. OpenAI supports California AI bill requiring watermarking of synthetic content. And Elon Musk says California should probably pass the SB 1047 AI safety bill. New study shows Alaskan snow crab population collapse in Bering Sea due to climate change. Salamanders are surprisingly abundant in U.S. northeastern forests, research finds. Widespread culling of crocodiles is not an effective way to stop attacks on humans, study shows. Public trust in drinking water safety is low globally. Study finds association with perceptions of public corruption. The largest known protein has been discovered in algae, and it's a machine that makes poison. Superconductivity study confirms existence of edge supercurrents. Webb finds early galaxies weren't too big for their britches after all. Uranus' 4 biggest moons may have buried oceans of salty water. Astronomers might finally have explanation for mysterious wow signal. Dr. Fauci was hospitalized with West Nile virus and is now recovering at home, a spokesperson says. World's first lung cancer vaccine trials launched across 7 countries. Mark Zuckerberg says White House was wrong to pressure Facebook on COVID. Chipmaker Kioxia aims to list in Tokyo in October, Nikkei says. In Japan, a Kyoto anime studio opens job opportunities for autistic artists. Reuters reports that Chinese entities turn to Amazon Cloud and its rivals to access high-end US chips, AI. Europe's harvest from grapes to apples hit by chaotic weather. Multiple vehicles burned to the ground in Death Valley this year. Argentina's economy falls 3.9% in June, worse than expected. Malaysia seen pausing rate through 2024 as inflation risks fade. Yen climbs as Ueda indicates that rates can go higher in Japan, and dollar slips against yen ahead of Powell's speech. Russian inflation soars past 70% since Ukraine invasion, surpassing official figures. China hits Xi Jinping's renewable power target 6 years early, as China's plunging coal plant approvals signal energy policy pivot, report says. China puts brake on new steel capacity with industry in crisis, as world's biggest steel producer warns of severe industry crisis. China vows to accelerate buying unsold homes for public housing. U.S. ambassador to Mexico warns of drug cartel risks to Mexican judiciary, from AMLO bill. Indonesia drops plan to revise election law after protests, and Indonesia stocks rebound after protests derail election law. In Brazil, a project aims to make daily pledging allegiance to the Brazilian flag mandatory in secondary and primary schools. TikTok tourists trample on Angkor Wat, in viral Temple Run recreation as Temple Run trend takes Cambodian tourism by storm. Ronaldo's YouTube debut breaks records, nears 1 billion social media followers. China gets new soft power lever in Tencent-backed Wukong game, as internet goes wild for Chinese video game, even as reviewers bash censorship. Sony is launching an Ethereum L2 called Sonium to realize the open internet, as Sony Startale unveil blockchain project in latest Web3 foray. Tether CEO says no plans for a USDT network. ETH Layer 2 Lisk partners to bring Indonesian government-supported Web3 program, as Lisk and Jerican Nasional 1000 Startup Digital unveil Ignite 3. FBI recovers $5 million from pig butchering crypto scam. As in 2 pig butcher busts, federal authorities recover $5 million, former Kansas Bank CEO jailed. SEC pushes back against Hex founder Richard Hart's efforts to dismiss case. 1 month ago, SEC charges Hex founder Richard Hart with misappropriating millions of dollars of investor funds from unregistered crypto asset securities offerings that raised more than $1 billion. Who controls Hex, PulseChain, and PulseX? Ridley Scott to direct Paramount's Bee Gees movie from GK Films. Joker director Todd Phillips says Hulk Hogan biopic with Chris Hemsworth no longer happening. Fallout co-creator Tim Kaine believes that criticizing capitalism was never the point of the series. It's actually just the whole war never-changing thing. Trump says he's refusing intel briefings so he won't be accused of leaks. Arizona man accused of posting threats to Trump is arrested. MAGA mocks Tim Walz's son for crying during DNC speech, and Rosie O'Donnell, Ana Navarro blast Heartless and Coulter for mocking Tim Walz's son, who has learning disorder, for crying at DNC. In the UK, Starmer to reconsider building scrapped HS2 route. 10 months ago, Labour cannot promise HS2 to Manchester, said Keir Starmer. 2 child benefit cap set to stay, as Reeves faces surprise £3 billion debt rise. In the UK, rape investigators diverted to police football matches and festivals, inspection fines. In the UK, The Telegraph comments as the obese are crippling the NHS. It's time to make them pay. Reportedly, Germany is facing a deadly opioid crisis, as fentanyl is entering the market. Canada banning sales of flavored nicotine pouches in convenience stores, gas stations. Canada forces arbitration in freight train labor dispute to avert economic crisis. Union cries foul, reportedly looming Canadian railroad work stoppage threatens U.S. supply chains. In Argentina, the government has freed up competition for gas exports. SCMP comments as Boeing's first engineer came from China. Now it hires mostly from India. Mexico issues arrest warrant for Joaquin Guzman Lopez over kidnapping of Sinaloa cartel leader Olmedo Zambada, as Mexico to bring charges against Capo, not for drugs, but for turning over another drug lord to U.S. A German court upholds the conviction of a former secretary at a Nazi concentration camp, age 99. Cycling race forced to change route due to Wales's default 20 miles per hour limit. AC/DC's Back in Black has now officially become the third highest selling album of all time in the United States, as AC/DC Back in Black awarded 27th Platinum Award. Indian singer Arijit Singh becomes most followed artist on Spotify, surpasses Taylor Swift. 51% of all mobile ads are being displayed on Apple devices. iOS bug causes iPhone to crash when you type certain 4 characters. Chinese scientists use lunar soil to produce water, state media reports. Chandrayaan-3 mission's Pragyan rover finds evidence of an ancient magma ocean near Moon's south pole. Stellantis shareholders sue automaker in U.S. after low earnings. China takes the lead in Latin America's automotive market. Diplomatic missions in Ethiopia now included in fossil fuel-powered vehicles import ban. Former U.S. ambassador to UN pushes for Taiwan's UN membership. Stronger global stand against China. Trinidad is redrawing its coat of arms to remove Columbus' 3 famous ships. She meets Belarusian president in Beijing, vows to deepen ties. In the U.S., Kentucky prisoners hack state-issued computer tablets to digitally create $1 million. Sam Altman's WorldCoin violated data policies, Colombia regulator says. Hacker uses McDonald's Instagram to steal $700,000 in memecoin rug pull. Instagram is adding a MySpace-like song on profile feature. Threads spotted exploring ads, but says no immediate timeline toward monetization. Chick-fil-A plans to launch streaming service with original shows, reports say. Microsoft will try the data scraping Windows recall feature again in October. A wave of biological privacy laws may be coming as tech gadgets capture our brainwaves. Microsoft finally officially confirms it's killing Windows control panel sometime soon. Russia opens criminal investigation into CNN correspondent for reporting in Ukrainian-occupied Russia. North Korean table tennis players under scrutiny for taking selfies with South Korean athletes. Taliban sacks hundreds of men because they can't grow beards, as Taliban morality police dismiss over 280 men without beards from security forces. A Russian basketball team facing lawsuit from Colombia for allegedly posing as its national team. In Australia, cops seize Lamborghini Huracan from man who's been on unemployment benefits since 2019. New Starbucks CEO allowed company jet for 1,000 miles commute to Seattle. Democrats get a third-party hopeful knocked off Pennsylvania ballot, as Cornel West tries to get on. Central Park 5 appear at DNC to slam Trump over their infamous case. U.S. investigating Americans who worked with Russian state television, and Putin honors TASS news agency with order for valorous labor for role in media industry. Putin shifts blame as Kursk failures dampen Russians' approval. 2 weeks ago, Russia declares state of emergency in Kursk as Ukraine pushes incursion. Russia begins installing concrete shelters in Kursk region amid Ukrainian incursion. Finland to deploy around 5,000 NATO troops near Russian border. Starlink now being deployed on U.S. Navy warships, as U.S. Navy is rolling out high-speed LEO internet across the fleet. Biden takes inaugural flight in long-delayed new Marine One helicopter. America's first sodium-ion battery gigafactory is coming to North Carolina. Inflatable Ukrainian F-16 decoy emerges at defense show. NATO airbase in Germany raises security level due to potential threat. German intelligence agency BND is scouting for fresh talents during Gamescom. Hamas set to decide to target Israelis abroad in bid to avenge Hania killing. October 7th mastermind and Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar reportedly adds new demand for ceasefire deal with "Don't kill me." UN announced Israel forcibly displaced 250,000 Gazans in August. Bullet wounds in bodies of all 6 hostages from Gaza suggest they were killed by captors. Ioniq 5N named 2024 World Performance Car, signaling 4th major victory for all-electric Ioniq 5 lineup in the last 3 years. BMW overtakes Tesla in European electric car market. GM-owned Cruise will partner with Uber to offer driverless rides. Paris prosecutors request trial for Gerard Depardieu over rape and sexual assault allegations. Indonesia's Widodo faces lawsuit over hijab-removing controversy at Independence Day ceremonies. New Taliban laws ban women's voices and bare faces in public. In the U.S., as per a federal report, 32,000 migrant children lost in last 5 years. 150,400 Hong Kongers have moved to UK using BNO pathway. In Brazil, elderly people are no longer the smallest portion of the population and are now over the age range of 15 to 24, says IBG. In Iceland, volcanic activity has resumed on Reykjanes Peninsula. Reportedly, world's loneliest orca filmed lying almost motionless for 24 hours in tank in Argentina. The biggest diamond in over a century is found in Botswana, a whopping 2,492 carats, as world's second largest diamond found in Botswana. Kamala Harris vows new way forward, as she accepts Democratic nomination, will ensure America always has strongest, most lethal fighting force, says Kamala Harris. Harris says Israel has right to defend itself. Palestinians need dignity, security, as Kamala Harris caps convention with call to end Gaza war, fight tyranny. Tanker carrying 150,000 tons of oil hit in biggest Red Sea attack in weeks. An oil tanker Saunian poses environmental risk after Houthi attack in Red Sea. India surpasses China to become Russia's top oil buyer in July. Houthis targeted 182 ships in total 21 operations in the last week. Venezuela's Supreme Court certifies Maduro's claims that he won presidential election. Germany's president approves the date for next year's national election. Lingo Telecom agrees to $1 million fine over AI-generated Biden robocalls. IAEA chief says to visit Kursk nuclear plant over alleged drone attack. And Russia accuses Ukraine of trying to attack Kursk nuclear power plant with drone. South Korea battery plant fire probe reveals RECell flouted safety rules to meet deadline. Indescribable crew errors led to disaster on Mike Lynch's Bayesian yacht maker says. Kamala Harris accepts nomination for president, saying Trump and allies are out of their minds, and accepting historic nomination, Harris vows America, not China, will win 21st century. Trump threatens huge tariffs on countries that don't accept deported migrants, and Panama unveils deportation flights to China, India and Ecuador to stem U.S.-bound migration. New macOS malware Cthulhu Stealer targets Apple users' data. SolarWinds leaks credentials and hotfix for exploited web help desk flaw. MIGO research identifies over 15,000 potentially impacted applications using AWS ALB. Latvian hacker extradited to U.S. for role in Karakurt cybercrime group. China extradites mastermind behind $14 billion crypto pyramid scheme. CLUcoin founder pleads guilty to stealing $1.1 million of investor funds for online gambling. Millions of office and hotel RFID smart cards vulnerable to instant cloning through hidden backdoor. Google fixes 9th Chrome zero-day tagged as exploited this year. China-linked Velvet Ant hackers exploited zero-day to deploy malware on Cisco Nexus switches. Exploitation expected for flaw in caching plugin installed on 5M WordPress sites. GitHub Enterprise Server 3.13.3 tackles critical SAML vulnerability. New PGAndersonM malware targets PostgreSQL databases to mine cryptocurrency. 11 Hong Kong banks pledge quicker credit in HKMA's task force to help small businesses. Amid private credit boom, Dallas fintech SEEP lands $30 million Series B to expand tech-enabled solutions. UBS activism bankers depart for roles at B of A Wells Fargo. FDA approves 2 updated COVID vaccines. Thailand confirms Asia's first known case of new deadlier monkeypox variant. People seen as wise share key characteristics, according to a global study. Sri Lanka approves free tourist visas for 35 countries to boost tourism. Nicaragua forces churches to pay taxes and closes 151 NGOs, as Nicaragua closes U.S. Chamber of Commerce and 150 other organizations. Nepal lifts TikTok ban imposed for disrupting social harmony. Australia's securities regulator wins case against Kraken's local operator. Former FTX executive Ryan Salami claims government backtracked on plea deal. Announced in filing, and former FTX executive's girlfriend faces campaign finance charges. Omega Pro co-founder arrested in Turkey on suspicion of $4 billion Ponzi scheme, claimed in reports. Franklin Templeton expands FOBXX tokenized money market fund to Avalanche blockchain. Trump promotes family's new crypto platform, the Defiant Ones. Ethereum ETF sees $14.3 million daily inflow via Fidelity, and Bitcoin ETFs record sixth consecutive trading day of inflows amid BlackRock's surge. Mosquitoes sense infrared from body heat to help track humans down. Changes in land use significantly affect larger bees, study shows. U.S. government report says fluoride at twice the recommended limit is linked to lower IQ in kids. Steve Jobs' personally owned and worn leather bomber jacket, worn in the iconic 1983 middle finger to IBM photo, is on auction. U.S. FDA clears use of Cresolins gel to stop severe bleeding in seconds. Microplastics are infiltrating brain tissue, studies show. Chinese multifunctional $16,000 humanoid robot, Unitree's G1 set for mass production. AI tongue scanner can diagnose illnesses with 96% accuracy. MasterCard is phasing out magnetic stripes. The Epic Games Store launches on mobile. Midjourney opens website to all users, offering 25 free AI image generations. SpaceX set for historic Polaris Dawn launch, first commercial spacewalk. Trump pulls out of interview after paper questions his dubious claims about crime rate. Stephanie Grisham, former Trump press secretary, says Harris has my vote. Beyoncé was never scheduled to attend 2024 Democratic National Convention, Rep says. Foxtel CEO Patrick Delaney apologizes for Nazi salute photo. D.C. councilman who claimed Jews controlled the weather charged with bribery. Former Congressman George Santos pleads guilty to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. Democrats start convention with Biden passing torch to Harris. Kamala Harris walks out to Beyoncé and a standing ovation during DNC debut. Ocasio-Cortez, once an outsider, takes center stage at convention. In the United States, Republicans open impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden 3 months before the presidential election. FAA orders 787 cockpit seat inspections after rise in incidents. China court accepts liquidation hearing against Evergrande unit. In the U.S., 10 more states sign on to Department of Justice's Live Nation Ticketmaster antitrust suit. Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver commuters face disruption from rail strike. Recently, rail giants plan to shut down Canada Network after union talks fail. Canada tells rail companies, union to work harder to avert crippling stoppage. In the UK, Labour gives green light to London City Airport expansion. Rebuilding Gaza could take over $80 billion in global cooperation. Philippines to host a U.S. visa processing center for up to 300 Afghans resettling in America. In Austria, marriage only from the age of 18 without exception. USDC tap to pay on Apple iPhone incoming soon, announced Circle CEO. Nearly 90% of developers surveyed say premium games don't need microtransactions. China Supreme Court revises anti-money laundering law to include virtual assets. Bank of Ghana unveils draft rules for cryptocurrency exchanges. Nigeria planning to present law to tax crypto by September, claimed in a report. Coin Center wins right to sue U.S. Treasury, IRS again over controversial tax reporting rule, as U.S. considers including crypto transactions in fiat reporting rules. George Santos loses lawsuit against Jimmy Kimmel over cameo videos. The Acolyte is dead. Star Wars series won't return for season 2. Phil Donahue, who reinvented U.S. talk shows by including the audience, dies at 88. Comedian Eric Andre alleges he was racially profiled at Melbourne Airport. Bibi Rexha says she was a victim of a hate crime after being banned from German airline for speaking Albanian. Ottawa Pride loses key allies over anti-Israel stance. Donald Trump posts AI images that falsely claim Taylor Swift endorsed him. Also, Trump shares fake image of Harris speaking to communist event. Harris proposes raising the corporate tax rate to 28%, rolling back a Trump law. Key Democratic patron Ron Conway departs from top crypto super PAC Fairshake, claims a report. In the UK, woman arrested for silent prayer outside abortion clinic wins £13,000 payout. In the UK, clapping for NHS during COVID was like treating service as a religion, Ombudsman says. Revised LDS handbook updates transgender policies, medical restrictions to garments, as new LDS church policies relegate trans members to second-class status, scholars warn. Nearly half of children born in Wales in 2002 to 2003 classed as having special educational needs. This may have negatively affected their attainment. In Argentina, 4 out of 10 young people between 25 and 35 years old live with their parents. Latinos accounted for over 90% of U.S. population growth since the beginning of the pandemic. In the UK, move to ease prison overcrowding as more rioters jailed. Also public urge to hand in zombie knives and machetes to police, ahead of ban. Misogyny to be treated as extremism by UK government. UAW workers at Stellantis could strike over Illinois plant reopening. GM is cutting more than 1,000 workers from its software business. Harley-Davidson drops diversity efforts after attacks by anti-DI activist. Blink-182 to release part 2 of One More Time album. 16-year-old becomes first Hong Konger to win Pokemon Go World Championship. Discussions to bring UFC to SA are underway. 1979 Ford Pro by Gia concept burned leaving Monterey Car Week. Dry ice shortages limit carry-out ice cream orders in Japan. GM reveals GMC Yukon at 4 Ultimate to expand reach, profits of high-end SUVs. Apple Podcasts launches web app. Listen to your Up Next queue and library in a browser. Google Maps adds offline mode on Wear OS smartwatches in public beta, claimed in the report. New Windows 11 build removes ancient, arbitrary 32 GB size limit for FAT32 disks. Officers involved in Kinmen capsizing not charged, and Chinese mainland criticizes Taiwan's findings on fatal fishing boat incident near Jinmen. Chinese and Philippine ships collide at Sabina Shoal, a new flashpoint. German warships await orders on crossing Taiwan Strait. China's State Security Ministry unveils espionage disguised as wind measurement tower construction. U.S. lawmakers demand probe into TP-Link, claiming spying risks from China. In Israel, Ramat Gan resident indicted for conspiring with Iranian agent to incite instability. U.S. and Mexico trade surpasses $415 billion through first half of 2024. Future murky for Russia to China pipeline, as Mongolia omits project from long-term plan. King Mohammed VI grants royal pardon to over 4,800 in cannabis-related cases. Kroger sues FTC, calling its in-house judges unconstitutional, as food industry pushes back against Kamala Harris's price gouging plan. Walmart's use of digital price tags signal the future of retail shopping, but consumers are worried. In Argentina, the government will make available to the public a database of 12 million daily prices from 3,600 supermarkets across the country. Canada to pause approval of temporary foreign workers for low-wage jobs in Montreal. Youth unemployment in China jumps to 17.1% in July. Charities condemn abuse and exploitation amid Scottish fish firm modern slavery investigation. A surprising number of iPad kids are on X study finds. Scrolling through online videos increases feelings of boredom, study finds. Pakistan blames users for slow internet as firewall rumors grow. Mike Lynch's co-defendant dies after being hit by car, days before yacht sinking. British tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch reported missing after superyacht sinks off Sicily, as 1 person dead and 6 missing after superyacht with 22 on board is sunk by tornado off coast of Italy. Flash floods in Connecticut kill at least 2, as some towns hit by 1,000-year rain events. GoPro to cut 15% of workforce in restructuring push. iPhone challenger Nothing calls staff back in 5 days a week, threatening dissenters with dismissal. Google denies reports that it's discontinuing Fitbit products. Chechen commander says Russian conscripts must fight in Kursk Oblast, promises heaven for killed. Operation in Russia's Kursk Oblast would have been called unrealistic, so it was kept secret, says Zelensky, and Ukraine in control of 92 settlements in Russia's Kursk Oblast, Zelensky claims. Ukraine may join NATO despite being partially occupied by Russia, Czech president says. Venezuela to convene World Anti-Fascist Congress, announced by President Maduro. Putin announced that Russia offers safe haven for people trying to escape Western liberal ideals. Reportedly Alex Jones considers leaving U.S., and social media approves. French left splits again, after Mélenchon calls for Macron's impeachment. In the U.S. House Intelligence Committee chairman says Iran could declare itself a nuclear weapons state by the end of the year. U.S. intelligence officials say Iran is to blame for hacks targeting Trump and Biden-Harris campaigns. Iran demands U.S. proof of Tehran's alleged interference in presidential election. Former Saudi official alleges Crown Prince forged king's signature on Yemen war decree. Confirming Netanyahu accepts U.S. deal proposal, Blinken says Hamas must now do the same. Abbas set to ask Israel to allow Gaza visit as PA works to line up support for trip. Hamas, Islamic Jihad claim credit for Tel Aviv's suicide operation. Russia warns of consequences if Poland attempts to intercept missiles over Ukraine. Germany deploys a tank brigade to Lithuania. Modi to visit Ukraine, weeks after Kiev condemned Indian PM for hugging Putin in Moscow, and India ready to extend all support for peaceful resolution of Ukraine conflict, announced by Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Former British officer says, Putin's life is at risk from insider poisoning. Russia blacklists 32 British think tank experts, announced by Russian Foreign Ministry. Former CEO of Kansas Bank sentenced to over 24 years for $47 million crypto fraud. Australian regulator shuts down over 600 crypto scams in the past year. Shaquille O'Neal will have to defend some of the allegations against him in the Astrals NFT lawsuit. 75% of all Bitcoin has been hodled for over 6 months. Gold bars are worth $1 million for the first time. Chinese banks hold key lending rates after PBOC signals caution. In Japan, missing pair of scissors leads to dozens of flights being cancelled and hundreds delayed. Study finds gun violence in rural America rises as deer hunting season begins. Appellate panel allows Californians to buy more than one gun per month. Canadian retail giant makes £29.2 billion bid for 7-Eleven. Purdue recalls 167,000 pounds of chicken nuggets after consumers find metal wire in some packages. AMD to buy server maker, designer ZT Systems in $4.9 billion challenge to Nvidia. Hyundai and Kia are closing the gap with Tesla as U.S. EV market share hits double digits. Alphabet's Waymo introduces new hardware with sensors better armed against winters. Trump says he may end EV tax credit. Is open to naming Elon Musk as an advisor. Man who pulled gun after Burger King worker wouldn't take drugs for payment gets 143 years in prison. FBI truck burglarized in San Francisco. Suspect claimed he traded valuable ballistics vest for $20 meth sack. U.S. fugitive known as the Devil captured while working as cop in Mexico 20 years after Ohio murder. Russia's United Shipbuilding Company and Baku shipyard to start constructing river-to-sea tankers, announced by Putin and Russia's Gazprom. Azerbaijan's SOCAR to broaden multifaceted strategic partnership, Gazprom CEO Alexei Miller said. Azerbaijan, Russia act as allies, friends, announced Aliyev, and durable peace in South Caucasus in everyone's best interests, said Putin. Moscow is ready to get involved in Azerbaijan and Armenia peace process, Putin says. Xeon Sender tool exploits cloud APIs for large-scale SMS phishing attacks. Windows 0 Day was exploited by North Korea to install advanced rootkit, and Microsoft patches 0-day flaw exploited by North Korea's Lazarus Group. New UU Loader malware distributes Ghost RAT and Mimikatz in East Asia. Researchers uncover new infrastructure tied to FIN7 cybercrime group. Microsoft Office Teams vulnerabilities enable hackers to access camera and microphone on macOS, claimed in the report. After 7 years, Google will stop paying researchers to find vulnerabilities in popular Android apps. U.S. approves $3.5 billion sale of military helicopters to South Korea. Laser weapon appears on Chinese amphibious assault ship. Switzerland offers $60,000 cash prize for ideas to rid its iconic alpine lakes of military ammunition. Oil producer APA explores $1 billion sale of Permian assets, sources say. China makes $31 billion nuclear push with record approvals. Hong Kong Monetary Authority task force to help SMEs struggling to repay